Hi, I'm Becky and I'm going to tell you about a project that I worked on recently where I tried to employ open science practices to improve the quality of my research. The project was about cooperation in Trinidadian guppies, and specifically I was looking into the effect of group size on cooperative behaviour. Intuitively, we might expect that if we ask a group of people to help us with something, we're more likely to find a helper if we ask a bigger group, simply because in a bigger group it's more likely that there is someone there willing to help. However, when we model this mathematically, simple models actually predict the opposite. In bigger groups, we should expect less cooperation. And this is because individuals expect others to help instead. So we can see human examples of this phenomenon in the bystander effect, whereby the more people who witness someone in need, the less likely that person is to receive help. But humans obviously aren't the only animals to cooperate. Trinidadian guppies are small tropical freshwater fish who live in streams and pools in Central and South America, and they cooperate in their anti-predator behaviour. In particular, guppies inspect potential predators. This is obviously risky. Why would you approach something that might want to eat you? But actually, predator inspection has several benefits. Guppies can gather information about the predator to determine how they should respond, and some predators are also less likely to attack when they have been inspected. These benefits affect all the individuals in the group, but only the individuals who inspect take on the additional risk. This means that predator inspection is a cooperative behaviour, an example of so-called public goods production. We wanted to use this natural behaviour of the guppies to test whether group size impacts cooperativeness. Specifically, we wanted to test the prediction from mathematical models that individuals in larger groups are less cooperative. Because we had a simple prediction, this is an ideal use case for pre-registration, and so we pre-registered our study with the OSF, the Open Science Framework, prior to the collection of any data, and we outlined our predictions and our experimental and statistical methods. This actually turned out to be very useful because it meant that we had a full protocol before we started the experiment and allowed us to maintain momentum throughout. Our experiment involved introducing guppies in different sized groups to a large trial pool, and then revealing a predator model to allow the guppies to inspect the model in a relatively naturalistic setting. We then used the free open source software T-Rex to individually track the guppies, which is what you can see here. And this is what the tracks look like following post-processing. This allowed us to collect data on the number and distances of inspections and the time spent inspecting. So our prediction was that guppies in large groups should cooperate less than those in smaller groups. And we also added some exploratory analyses where we looked at different distance measures for inspections. And because we pre-registered our methods, we were able to make clear the distinction between our pre-registered analyses and our additional exploratory analysis. For most of the measures that we collected, as you can see, there was no difference between the different group sizes. However, we did find that guppies in the largest groups inspected more frequently per capita, which was the opposite of our prediction. What was really interesting was that the effect of group size was not a simple monotonic relationship, as we might expect, meaning that there was no steady increase or decrease with group size. There was instead some evidence that individuals in our intermediate size groups inspected the least. And this is really exciting because it was not something that we expected to find at all, and so suggests that we really need to rethink the way that we model group size if we want to accurately capture the dynamics of natural systems. More broadly, our results show that theory needs to be tested and developed in conjunction with experimental data so that our models are useful for explaining animal behaviour. And as with all these things, a lot more work is obviously needed to really understand the effects of group size on cooperative behaviour. We've now, just this summer, published this open access in Prop B and made available all of our code and data on GitHub and Dryad so that if anyone is that way inclined, they can go and have a look at exactly how we constructed our models, and the whole process is fully auditable. To make sure that our results were truly accessible, including to a non-technical audience, I also wrote a short blog post about the project using accessible language so that not being an expert was not a barrier to understanding our results. And we were lucky enough to have this picked up by a German newspaper who wrote a really nice column about the work, including that we should change the phrase brave like a lion to brave like a guppy, and I have to say, I think I agree. I'd like to thank my supervisors, Safi Darden and Tim Fawcett, and also Jake Cranston, who was really helpful in the lab, and Christos Ioannou at Bristol for really useful advice on the automated tracking. And last but not least, thank you all for listening.